At 6:30, we're going to get started. I'm going to turn to Amy Cohen for a motion to open up the budget hearing.
Sure. I move to open the fiscal year 26 budget hearing at 6:31 p.m.
I will second that. Let's do roll call. Trying to see here. Shondor, what say you?
Yeah.
Scott?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
And Joe?
Yes.
All right, I think I got everybody there. So welcome everybody to the March 2025 budget hearing. This is an annual event required by Mass General Law, and we're happy to hold it to give any members of the community an opportunity to ask questions about the budget process that has been long underway now in the Nashoba Regional School District. So the way that we'll move forward is Kirk and Ross are going to do a brief review of the budget materials, and then we'll open the floor to the public. So Kirk, I'll turn it to you. Oh, did I skip the Pledge of Allegiance? You're trying so hard. Okay, so actually, I'm trying my very best to do this on my phone. So we're gonna start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you guys all want to mute, and that way you don't have to be heard necessarily, and I will recite, you can recite with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you so much for that reminder, Kirk.
Yes.
And now we will move to your brief presentation, helping the public to understand the materials that have thus far been presented.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the committee, and thank you for members of the public who are tuned in and participating this evening. We are going to give a brief presentation tonight. Don't be alarmed by the number of slides in the presentation. This is all information that has been shown to the committee in previous meetings. And so we are going to review this information in a very brisk way so that we can immediately get to members of the public that are here for comment. So with that, brief presentation overviews. We'll go over our why, the mission, vision, core values, and theory of action. Talk about equality and equity in budgeting. Mr. Mulcairn will then take over the lion's share of the presentation, addressing all the fiscal information, and then next steps. So in Nashoba Regional School District, we inspire and challenge all learners to realize their unique potential and become active contributors to their community. That is the mission that we build a budget and work on every day. If we do these things, we're going to fulfill our vision of being our best selves, of paving our path and impacting the world. This is our vision that is expressed all throughout the district from staff and students. This is based in the core values of academic achievement and personal growth, voice, choice, and agency, lifelong learning, a safe, caring, and inclusive community, for collaborative partnerships, innovation, and a sense of belonging for all. And when we say all in Nashoba, we mean each and every person in our district. So if we're able to do these things, this is our theory of our action through communication systems, protocols, clearly aligned and articulated curricula, innovative practices, shared leadership, equitable opportunities and outcomes for all, and effective resource allocation, we will inspire and challenge all learners to realize that unique potential and becoming active contributors to our community. And so when building a budget, we need to build the budget in ways that both reflect equality and equity. So we base many of our budget principles on equality standards and staffing. For administration, guidance counselors, deans, class sizes not to exceed 24 students per classroom and 22 students in the early grades. But we also have to build the budget based on our core values around what is equity. And that is students getting what they need. Each and every student getting what they need to reach their potential. So we have to adjust our staffing decisions for things like specialized programming for students with IEPs, 504 plans, English learners. We have a Title I program, and then we also support it through our multi-tiered systems of support. I'll turn to Mr. Mulcairn to go over the timeline.
Thank you, Superintendent Downing. Obviously, the committee is familiar with our budget timeline, which we build beginning in the summer. We can see where we are tonight, highlighted in yellow for the budget hearing, and then the meeting subsequently right after. Our next major step is the budget vote by the school committee next week. With your approval, we would be moving forward to the town meetings and then attending those meetings and presenting and answering questions and supporting the budget in those settings. So we've talked about this several times, but of the approximately $3.5 million, we are still increased over FY25. Majority of it is built up by special education cost increases, insurance rate increases, and factors from the governor's proposed budget. And again, on the governor's budget topic, we know that our Chapter 70, while it did come in at $75 per student, that is the minimum per student, and we received the minimum this year that we could possibly get. So here's a summary of the work we've done. We presented the first iteration of the budget workshop with all the wants and asks to really move the educational program forward in terms of supplies, materials, and also more importantly, the staffing. Recognizing that a 10% increase would not work for any of our fiscal partners in the towns. We backed that out and removed new positions with the exception of some special education, added some reductions and offsets to the budget. And then we proposed 18 unspecified staffing reductions at that point. With those 18 unspecified reductions, we're estimating we could get the budget to essentially a 5.15% increase. After specifying those reductions and also getting the information about our health insurance increase of 19.92%, we had to do further reductions and did some revenue adjustments. But again, as I've expressed to the committee, we feel like we're at the extent that we can push those estimates and those expectations while being responsible in our projections. We had a small just correction to make before the last meeting. So where we sit right now is just over 70 million. And again, with a 5.25% increase over FY25 in the operating budget. I'm just going to quickly walk through the details of these things. Again, trying to be brief so we can give as much time for the public to comment and ask questions. These are the reductions presented at number one. Typically, we do look at teaching and learning, technology, and facilities, and then across our buildings. And again, at the first iteration, we came in and reduced approximately $175,000 off the budget. We looked to our revolving accounts and some of the other things as far as what the balances were and what would be coming in for next year. And we were able to offset the budget another $500,000. Again, this doesn't drive down the cost of it. It just offsets it someplace else versus offsetting it or being assessed to the towns. This is the extent of the new positions that we had asked for that came back out of the budget, somewhere enrollment base where we felt like the enrollment wasn't quite there, and others were more related to our strategic plan. Superintendent Downing, did you want to add anything in here?
I think what's important on these positions to understand this is these were the new asks. So as you explain that, and it's based on our standards that we had before.
Yep. We also made some administrative salary updates at that point with the 0% increase for anyone within the Leadership Council, which is essentially our administrative team. Superintendent Downing, you want to speak to the administrative position?
That's right. We reduced the curriculum director position as well as taking a 0% increase for the entire administration team. That essentially balances out to equivalent would be about 2 positions, reducing our administrative team from 24 administrators in the district to 23.
And then at that time, in order to get as close as we could to that a potential 5% increase over FY25, we estimated it would take another 18 unspecified position reductions and did an estimate on what their insurance reduction would be within the budget, which pulled another 1.9 million out of the operating budget. This is where we estimated it would put us at that time and the associated assessments to the towns. Then we brought forward a second budget update in February. Again, we made some reductions. We heard the good news out of the PRISM grant, and we're able to make some shifts. If the PRISM grant's going to help out with the offset to teaching and learning, the built-in offset from extended learning that wasn't teaching and learning was able to shift over to technology. We did some other scheduled maintenance reductions for facilities and built in a transportation offset from the athletic revolving into the transportation cost for teams. Superintendent Downing?
Yeah, for our staffing reductions and budget update 2, we were able to reduce some extracurricular stipends for after-school activities. In our unit A, we're consolidating our team chair work, and so there's a reduction of a position there, along with 2 occupational therapists in exchange for another two occupational therapist assistants reduced, being replaced by 1 occupational therapist, including 2 positions in our custodial unit. In addition, we had to make the difficult decision of looking at our related arts model at the middle school level. This will provide, this is a result of shifting our Spanish program out of the 8th grade as a dedicated class in the 8th grade into the related arts rotation for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We'll be coming to the committee on that later this spring for details. But we need to reduce an additional 3.4 teachers at the high school, K-8 guidance counselor, 3rd grade teacher at MRE based upon where we are with class size standards, as well as 1.2 points in NRSD math coaches. For our Unit C employee reductions, we reduced the secretary at our high school, as well as the 3 middle school library assistants.
So with those staffing reductions, and then the actual placeholder on those positions, and then we did those other reductions and offsets, we were able to meet that $1.9 million goal to get us as close as we could to the 5% increase over FY25. And this is where we sort of landed as of 3 o'clock on the 11th of February. And then we had our meeting with our insurance representative, and we received the news that we're in the 19.92% increase on our health insurance over last year, which immediately, the calculations put us at a $528,000 increase, which we had not necessarily hoped we would be getting. And that made a major impact. As I've expressed to the committee and what we've heard from our reps, and this is what we're hearing across really the region of AVC, which I meet with the roundtable, and then also any business person I speak to, this is what we're hearing across the state right now. So the market with rising healthcare costs, with prescription usage, is really driving things. And then for us specifically in Nashoba, that target of using 88% of your paid premiums, and we're exceeding that by over 97%, which is driving a big part of our increase on the formulas that Maya uses to work across the hundreds of groups that they work with in the state. So in order to address that impact, we had to make some other decisions. Superintendent Downing, sorry.
Now, this is where we had to make the difficult decisions of reducing an additional 0.5 secretary position, as well as the 4 deans at our 3 middle schools and our high school. This is a deep cut. This is a to the bone cut for us. Our dean positions are critically important. In my listening sessions that I've had since that budget update, both parents, staff, and even some students have expressed their concerns. And as I expressed to the committee, as we continue to work with our legislators, look at other solutions, and lobby for additional revenue to the district, the dean positions are the positions which we will attempt to reinstitute into the budget, knowing we have to do so within the constraints of the numbers in this budget that we're looking for a vote on.
We also looked at our investment income, which is a revenue source for the district, and based on our numbers now this year, we felt like we could comfortably increase that estimate for next year by another 100,000. So what that did was we were able to meet the threshold of that amount. Not necessarily all of it came out, but $432,000 was reduced, as well as an increase in revenue. So the full impact on the assessments was $532,000. So what you can see here, actually, if you do the look back, is while we're at 5.28% at that point, those operating budget assessments, the towns do stay low enough as they were close to what they were when it was 5.15% of an increase. We made a quick just sort of correction on some stipended pieces that found almost like a duplication. When I was looking back through the budget, pulled that apart and dug deep, and it was another 27,000 reduced from the budget. So this is essentially where we are today with a 5.25% increase in the operating budget. The flush out to the assessments is essentially what you saw last week. So this is where we are today. Another piece on this is just showing the math on where we've been over the last 5 years with regards to FTE. And you can see the difference between FY25 to FY26. And what really shows is that the FY26 budget, what we really felt like we needed to do to increase our FTEs to drive forward the instructional plan and the strategic work was that orange band of the 492, but obviously we're further reduced from that. Superintendent Downing, anything further on this?
Yeah, I think it's important for our community, for this committee to understand that in the past 5 years, you'll see a 9.1% reduction in total FTE in the school system, while we've experienced a 3% reduction in enrollment. So our reduction in our staffing has actually outpaced any reduction in enrollment. And that is an indicator of these non-salary costs that have been escalating and have caught up to us at this time.
Another important piece of information that we want to share, and we continue to share, is that yes, the cost of insurance has gone up significantly, but you can see by the yellow bar on top of the blue bar, we've increased our offsets significantly for next year and are pulling as many levers as we can to lessen the impact of the health insurance increase on the operating budget. So again, we're doing what we can within our constraints, within the books of the budget with regards to offsets to do what we can to keep that as low as it can be on the operating budget. Another piece that I've shared with the committee, and we shared last week with regards to the impact on special education, transportation, and placements increasing over the last 5 fiscal years. Really within the sort of, if you look at the graph, it's the combination of the circuit breaker reimbursement that comes in and the money that we receive through the IDEA grant. We could increase these a little bit with the IDEA grant, but we'd be then sacrificing other money within the IDEA grant to transportation. So I think this is a relatively good model, and it matches what we've done. So as you can see over time, the impact and that increase of the blue band on the operating budget, as these costs have increased, the reimbursement and grant increases are really just not as much as we need them to be or hope them to be to decrease the impact on the operating budget and therefore the assessments. So you can see where we are right now relative to previous fiscal years, coming out of the COVID and with the SOA, really we're able to keep that assessment low at that time. But since then, we're sort of in a relatively similar place if you look at the average between 23 to 25. These are the drivers I covered last week with the FinCom, the joint FinCom and advisory boards. And just a quick overview again of the town assessments, where we are today. And again, here's the important part on that $3.5 million increase and how much of it's coming due to special education service increases. This is not salaries of our staff, the total of our insurance and benefit increases, and obviously we're being charged more for school choice out and charter tuitions that go to those schools. Just want to remind the public, they can click on these if they're just looking at this slide deck that's posted, is you can go directly to the FY26 budget development page for all our budget work. Ms. Hannigan still needs to post the last one, and I'm sure she'll post today too. In the morning, she's been off at DECA and has been busy while she's been back. And then obviously we have the ongoing Finance and Operations Center, which really is there for education for the public. It's there to be clear and to provide information and not just be transparent and show the information, but to explain it as well. Our next steps are the budget vote next week, and then we go out to the town meetings. And that's the end of the presentation for the public hearing.
I would like to take this moment to offer some gratitude, and that is the hard work of all of our team, our administrators, our employees in both the human resources, the finance office for the work that they put into building this budget. I also want to thank our town officials, our the town TAs in all three of our towns, as well as the two FinComs from Lancaster and Stowe, the advisory committee from Bolton, as well as the three select boards. Mr. Mulcair and I have engaged in many public meetings in recent weeks and had conversations both in our office and also in those public settings to work with our town officials. And I just want to thank them, as we had an opportunity recently in a joint meeting with those select boards, learn that they understand that what we've done in the school system this year has been very difficult and gets us to a place where hopefully we can thread that needle of providing an outstanding educational program with our students while also putting forward a budget for which our towns can afford. So thank you, and Madam Chair, we'll turn it to you.
All right, thanks, Kirk, and thanks, Ross. And Kirk, I will extend the same gratitude to you for all of the work that you've done in leading your team. So we really appreciate all the many, many hours, days, weeks, months that you've put into this. So the purpose of the public hearing is to give the public an opportunity to ask questions in a less rigid environment than what is our public meetings. We will have a public meeting after this, a brief one for the school committee to deliberate. But for now, let's invite our public to weigh in. I think I see a couple of neighbors here, and if either of you guys want to ask a question or comment, please feel free to jump in. Just explain to us who you are. And as a teacher, I have no problem with wait time. Okay, so last call for public comment. If anybody wants to jump in, please feel free. All right. So, Kirk, over the last few years, the budget hearing has had kind of low attendance, but honestly, I attribute that to the extensive groundwork that is done in the months that lead up to the budget hearing. I feel like no stone has been left unturned that I know of. And all of the meetings that you've gone to and partnerships you've built and channels that you've opened, I think that this is a testament to that everybody kind of understands and knows where we are right now, and I hope is comfortable with it.
So thank you for that.
All right, everybody. So at this point, I'm going to turn to Amy Cohen for a motion to close the budget hearing.
I move to close the budget hearing at 6:54 p.m.
I'll second that. Thank you, Amy. And Amy, what say you?
Yes.
Yes or no? All right, and I'll say yes. Lindsay?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And Shondor?
Yes.
All right, everybody, that closes the budget hearing for 2025. Thank you very much for your attendance. We'll take a quick pause. And as you guys know, I am going to now call to order a regular meeting of the Nashoba Regional School Committee at 6:55 p.m. I just actually want to make sure that Bolton Access is still here. So here we go. I'm sorry, there's construction happening in the school. Can you hear it terribly? No. Okay. Phew, it's loud. All right. So Bolton Access is still here recording. We will move on now to Basically, what is a finance and operations report? Kirk and Ross do not have any plans to present any more materials to you. I think that we have a full understanding, but I want to give the committee any chance to weigh in. Is there anything else that you would like to say or ask everybody? Go ahead, Scott.
Two things, actually. First, I just want to reiterate my appreciation to the administration for doing such an excellent job and putting together a budget that both shows us what it would cost us to do everything they think would be appropriate to achieve our educational goals, as well as cutting it back appropriately to get it within the town's constraints for their budget needs. So again, I appreciate all the effort you guys put in to get us there. The other thing is, I just want to remind anyone who's watching this meeting on replay that the Budget and Warrants Committee is having a meeting tomorrow, March 6th at 7 p.m., specifically with the intent of answering any questions that people in the public in our community might have about the budget, but who were unable to attend the meeting tonight.
Wonderful. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that. Members, anything else? We always like to open the public meeting after the hearing, just in case. I'm not seeing any golden hands, and as always, everybody, I really do appreciate your attention and your attendance and your dedication throughout all of this. I know that there are many other meetings that are happening beyond the regular school committee meetings, so thank you, everybody, for everything. At this time, I'm going to move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Let's see. I will vote yes. Shondor.
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
And Lindsay?
Yes.
Wonderful, everybody. How much was that? 27 minutes?
Good job.
Proud of
Thank
you
you,
guys.
everyone.
All right. See ya.